Hello and welcome everybody to the very first Howl Studios podcast. This was basically made because we are all stuck in quarantine. Today I have a great board of guest stars with us today to talk about how life has been. So today we have yours truly hosting with Kris, Daleyna, and our guest stars today are Lauren Stallworth. Say hi. Caleb Chambers. You can say
Hi.
And then Clare Youngster.
Hi.
How have you guys been since this entire thing has started after spring break?
Yeah, so it's been a big change, to say the least. Routine is kind of thrown off, and it's just different to staying home. But just trying to fill my time with, I'm rereading Harry Potter, doing some crafts. So just kind of trying to reestablish a routine and just keep myself busy.
It's been a time. I'm just really bored, and I'm like almost constantly reminded of how much I hate being at home 24/7. It's been okay. It's
been good, if I'm totally honest. It's the benefits are that I can fully control my day now. Like, I can work at my own pace, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, because what that means is that I get, all of a week's worth of English 4 done in like 2 hours. But it's also a bad thing, because what am I supposed to do the rest of the 14 hours?
Kris and Daleyna, have you guys been since quarantine? Because we haven't seen each other or done a podcast for like a little while.
Hot minute. Yeah, I felt that. I've been bored. I miss my friends. Yeah.
So have you guys been making any kind of sort of schedules around your life? Have you guys been picking up any hobbies?
I kind of have. I'm kind of really trying to write a lot more, and I spray paint things now. I vandalized my garage and like this thing we have parked in our yard, so.
That's productive. Yeah.
I was just going to say, for me, I've kind of been trying to make it a point to balance being productive and also like relaxing, having fun. I personally am not a fan of the quarantine. I know a lot of people really enjoy it. I do not. I really miss people. I don't like being stuck at home, and I don't ever relax, so it has been hard. So for me, kind of to build the routine and fill my time is I have a schedule for myself every day that I make, and I break down like how much time I'm going to spend on school, how much time I'm going to spend in each class, and then I try and do something productive every day, cleaning something out, organizing something, reaching out to someone that I haven't talked to in a while, trying to still stay connected, especially being more extroverted. I'm pretty picky about my routine, but just trying to build a new one.
That's like, Lauren just had like a huge list of like, oh yeah, I've done like all of this. I think I should aspire to be a little bit more like Lauren's and like, pick up more hobbies.
Yeah.
Caleb?
Yeah, Lauren is like, she's priority. She should be like, everybody should strive to be a Lauren during this quarantine.
Lauren's
like, what
the
heck?
child of the quarantine.
Well,
Caleb, have you been?
The quarantine.
So let's just start transitioning over to the more serious aspects of this quarantine. Of course, it's really taken huge toll on people. A lot of people are being affected by this, and it's the severity has really become a realization during these like past few weeks. We've seen New York has really taken a huge hit of this virus, as well as California, and Washington was the first state to have a death in their state as well as a case. So when this all began with the first case in Washington state, how did you guys feel when it started spreading across like the United States? And I'll go to Caleb if you want to voice.
When I first heard about the death in Washington state, it was kind of like if you had a couple of raindrops hit your window while you're just sitting in your room, not really thinking about anything. And then you kind of look out and you see like a tornado and you're like, oh, that's not good. And, you know, I wasn't really expecting anything because I don't like to make expectations about, you know, situations like this because I don't know how a virus is going to react. But I was worried, to say the least. I was concerned for my friends that live in New York, and I still am, but they're doing okay, so we'll see how this ends up.
I like your analogy of we just saw a couple of raindrops, and then, oh, hey, our tornadoes in the distance. It's a good way to put it. Claire.
Honestly, I haven't really ever been like super worried about it. Like, I know a lot of people were like stressed and everything and like concerned, but I didn't really, like, when I first heard about the death in Washington, I was like, oh, well, I guess it's here now. Which is kind of morbid, I guess, but I never really had like a big reaction to it. I was just like, okay, I mean, it's a disease that's spreading. Just like, I'm like a really big fan of history and everything, and it's been like known for like a very long time that at some point during like from I think 2015 to around now, they were estimating that another big like pandemic or another big virus was going to be spreading. So I wasn't too surprised when I heard about it starting, and I was aware of it when it first like originated in China as well. And I've been keeping up with it since then too. So it wasn't like a big shock, like, oh my gosh, this is a huge thing. Like, I've known about it for a while, so it was like a gradual increase of this is something to be concerned about. But I never really had a moment where I was like, big problem. Because just from the data that they've shown, it doesn't seem to affect teenagers as much. So I wasn't really worried about my own personal safety, and I don't really know too many people who would be like actively be threatened by this other than like my grandma. But since she lives in a retirement home, they've taken a lot of precautions to make sure that everyone there is safe.
Interesting that you comment on like, you know, like how you were aware of like when this like virus started spreading in China. Of course, like I think it was back in December when it was like starting to spread a little bit more, and it was starting to get like almost getting close to like Hong Kong, and that's where most of my distant family lives. So we were like shipping out a bunch of face masks over there to make sure that they were like safe. And of course, we should have saw in hindsight that this was going to become bigger than just spreading throughout, you know, all of that side of the world. You guys briefly skimmed over how life has been since post-quarantine mentally. Some of you guys are just saying like you're bored or like you're good now, but let's dive more into just like how has it felt being cooped up in your houses? How's it felt transitioning over to like online school? And especially I want to hear from like the seniors in this podcast, your feelings circling around like, oh, our usual 2020 tradition have been kind of canceled, like grad bash has been canceled and prom's still kind of up in the air.
I am just so upset. I'm gonna start. I'm sorry. I'm
okay, Daleyna.
Go off.
I don't know. I'm really passionate about this stuff, and I'm so upset because I've been looking forward personally to grad bash since 8th grade. Abbie, Liv's Preparatory's 8th grade graduation trip to Universal was canceled because of a hurricane, and then it never came, and we still didn't go. So I don't know, it's been kind of like a cool, like, I guess, reward for all our hard work to look forward to, and now it's just gone. And it's like, what do we have to show for it? All we have to show for it is a virus and being trapped in our homes. I just feel like it's so unfair that the fear around a pandemic is destroying the milestones of an entire generation. Like, all of us in 2020 who are meant to be graduating, we might not even get a traditional graduation ceremony. Then I'm not usually a traditional person, but I was really upset about that because I feel like that's such a huge part of our lives. And just because a virus is happening, and I know it's scary, but we can't just stop our lives. And how long are they going to try to keep us trapped for, you know? And then when we finally get out, what will the world be like? People will still be living in fear, just like how it's been in China when they had like sort of a recession, sort of like the virus sort of stopped and people were going out again for a little bit, and they were just afraid. Like they didn't even want to be near each other. Like, is that what our lives are going to be like for who knows how long? Sorry.
No, that was good.
I completely agree. Like, I'm not even a senior, but that fear of wondering, like, how long this is going to last. And, like, for me, at first, like, I was more afraid of the repercussions of this than the virus itself, if that made any sense.
No, exactly. I feel the exact same way.
Yeah. Like, and it's funny because, like, I am more susceptible to the virus. And so, like, but it hasn't been the fear of the virus. It's been the fear of I really rely on social contact. This hasn't been good for me personally with my mental health. So it was like thinking about, like, I was more afraid of the repercussions, and things are just getting worse. And it's kind of scary. Like, what if we, you know, there's those fears in the back of your mind. Like, what if we never go back to school? What if traditional stores never open? What if things stay drive-through only? Like, what if I don't get to see my friends for another 6 months? Like, it's really, since I fear the repercussions and the consequences of this more than anything, that's what I almost fear more. And so it's like kind of scary sometimes too, when you get in your head, you think like, what if this isn't? And the news right now is filled with so many like scary things. And, you know, an article popped on my phone the other day that was like, you know, some scientists say this is going to last another 8 months. And I lost it because I was like, I can't imagine this for another 8 months. Like, it's not even been a month yet, and it feels like forever. So I totally get that, like that fear of the consequence. And it's like, you know, the virus, of course, is awful and scary, but I think we should recognize that it's just as difficult to go through the cancellations and the emotional isolation and separation.
I agree. That was really well said, both you, Lauren and Daleyna. Both you guys expressed really good opinions on that matter. Like how, like, yeah, you kind of will go, like the phrase, it's been token stir crazy, staying inside for a while, and how it has really kind of sucked that, you know, even though, yes, we are aware of like the current situation that's going on and how much it's been impacting the nurses and people on the front lines, it is kind of stink that we're not able to, you know, enjoy pulling off like senior pranks. Because I was planning on like constructing Passardi's car and then reconstructing it inside of her classroom, and that would have been fun as heck. But you know,
oh yeah,
we're stuck to do this. But yeah, rolling into more of that mental health space. I know once Kris gets somewhere where you can see him, that Caleb and Kris, I know both of you guys are actually still working and still employed, which is like kind of a little bit stressful. And I want you guys to kind of tell us, like, how has it really been affecting you?
Yeah, I have to wear a face mask every day when I go into work, from the moment I step on the floor until I leave. And it hurts the bridge of my nose. It's pretty uncomfortable. And I've noticed something pretty interesting. Customers are ruder to me now that I wear the face mask than they were before. It's I think maybe it's, I don't know what causes it. But
I wonder if it's like the loss of your facial expression, like dehumanizing you. Oh, that's awful.
I think it's that people have just been really a lot ruder than normal, and it's frustrating to deal with. Somebody threw trash at one of my coworkers a few days ago, like through the drive-through window.
What?
And
it's not okay.
Because no, it's not. And people have just like decided that since we're all in social isolation, that it's okay to treat other people like we aren't human.
Oh.
And as much as I want to not necessarily stay positive, but kind of have warmth in this situation, and kind of embrace the idea of, yeah, this sucks, but it's all for the best, it's really, really difficult not to want to scream at people.
Honestly, like, I felt that. I don't have to wear a face mask, and I don't have, like, I obviously, like, you worked at Beef Brady's, like, we still wear gloves, like, it's all the same, except for now we stand outside with signs and stuff like that, and people do not know how to keep, like, a distance. So, like, my main fear is, like, some dude is going to be walking around with the coronavirus, not really caring about who he infects or anything like that, bump into me or, like, cough on me, and I'm going to have it just because I was out there working instead of, like, like, because I've been staying safe. Like, I have, like, hand sanitizer on my keys. Like, I don't go anywhere without washing my hands after I leave. Like, I'm very particular about it. See, like, this kind of stuff doesn't really genuinely scare me because I feel like I have, like, a really good immune system because I've been exposed to, like, so many, like, different, like, symptoms and stuff like that. But, like, at the same time, like, this is, like, something no one's ever, like, like, seen before. Like, doctors are just, like, baffled by it because, like, they don't know, like, what to do. And I don't know, it's just, like, scary. But, like, I agree with, like, all y'all. Like, I'm scared this is not going to end is what I'm, like, more fearful of. Because, like, I'm literally about to graduate. My 18th birthday is tomorrow. And I'm doing this all, like, throughout this whole thing. And it sucks. It's like I want to go back to my life. Like, I miss, like, my friends. I miss, not being scared to be around people because, oh, my God, what if someone has it and they don't know about it or they're a carrier for it? And it's scary.
Kris, I'm so sorry. Happy early birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Kris.
birthday, dude. We all ambushed Chris's house even more than 6 feet apart. Because according to articles, that like 6 feet isn't enough. So like 20 feet apart.
Can we please come ambush your house? I will actually ambush your house.
Yeah, let's go. Send your address
we'll
over this
airdrop balloons
Zoom
to you.
podcast.
I got you. I'll send the location.
And also, as a side note, the 6 feet rule working with coworkers and through the drive-through is a joke.
Yeah,
it is.
It's not even close to possible.
You actually come into contact with people anyway.
And outside of that, I have to kind of come to the terms with the fact that, right now, my stepfather doesn't have a job. He's out of a job because normally he fixes hotels, but he can't do that right now. And normally he trades stocks, but the stock market got tanked. We're deep into a recession. My mom's pay is greatly reduced because she's a teacher. I got a raise and I'm working a lot extra now. So from my perspective, it's, do I want to help my family eat lunch or do I want to stay safe?
Yeah, that's like an impossible decision to make. Like,
No, I really felt that, to be honest, because, like, my dad runs his own company and everything, and he does street care, and that's already taken, like, a huge hit because people are trying to save their money. So because of that, we're basically, like, not having, like, any, like, stable income coming in because around this time, this would usually be, like, his busy season, and he would have, like, jobs to do or multiple jobs to do every single day. And now it's like maybe 1 or 2 jobs a week and that's it, and they're not even like big things, so we're not having like any stable income. And like you said, with the stock market crashing, my college fund actually took a huge dive because it's in a mutual bond. So I went from almost being able to pay off 4 years of college to now I don't know what I'm gonna do if it keeps like continuing to drop.
yeah, like
oh my God, I'm so sorry, Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, when this started, I was a nanny before this started, and I was a nanny for a hairdresser, but all non-essential businesses got closed, so I just lost my job. And I am very, very fortunate that I had money saved up before I had this job, and I'm pretty big on saving. So I am so grateful that I have enough money that I can still pay for gas and I'm okay. And I'm also very blessed that my parents, my mom is a middle school teacher. She's still getting paid. And my dad is retired and now works for a couple universities. He's still getting paid. So I feel so fortunate But I can only imagine, like, I was really sad when I lost my job, and it was of course necessary, and I don't blame the woman because now she's home with her kids and her income just lost, and I feel so bad for her. So like, I can only imagine. I was upset enough that I wasn't going to be getting that paycheck, and I'm a kid who already had what I needed saved up. So like, I feel so bad for people whose main income is crushed, or kids who are working to pay for college. Like, I feel so bad for that. And like, I've been trying to reach out to people who I know are in that situation. It's like, can I help out? Do you need anything? Even just calling someone up and being like, hey, I know this is tough. Like, I've had a couple phone calls with people who were just like needed to vent. So it is like so scary, but I do like that. I feel like people have come together on it, but like, I just can't imagine, because I was in a good position and I was already upset enough that I lost like my job. So I just like, I can't imagine. I really feel for people who are in that situation.
The one nice part about working at Starbucks is that I get a free meal every day, no matter whether or not I'm working. And right now they reduced or increased the percentage off that Starbucks partners get. So I can go to Starbucks and get an $8 panini and a $4 drink, and also get like a side thing that costs like $3, and my total cost is $1.50.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
so something I've been doing on the side is occasionally I'll text friends and I'll be like, hey, do you want something? Do you want some food or anything like that? Because $1.50 to me it doesn't really matter that much. But I know that for someone who whose parents aren't working at all, one meal is worth a lot. And that, combined with Wesley Chapel High School doing their free meals for a whole week for any Pasco County resident, it is really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And like you said, Lauren, about like saving up money and stuff, I had some money put away from like working with my dad, because I made really good money while I was on break and like working with him before things started slowing down. So I had a lot saved up, and I've like started to use that to buy my own groceries and stuff, so that way my parents don't have to like pay for it for me, because that saves them like $30-$40 maybe like a week for like buying everything for our family if it's just me feeding myself, which like it isn't that much, but like in the long run that I'm able to do that, it definitely helps out a lot.
How this virus has been affecting people who are immunocompromised. Lauren, if you would like to voice your perspective on that, because you are immunocompromised.
Yeah, so I have a couple things going against me. The big one is I have asthma, which lots of people have asthma, but my asthma has always been kind of wonky. My whole life, I've always been the first one to get sick. When I was little, I would get sick a couple times a month. I just naturally have a very, very weak immune system. When I was in elementary school, like if there was a flu outbreak, I actually had to stay home because they were concerned that with my asthma, it would be 10 times worse. So I have that. And then also, it's not as bad, but I do have some thyroid issues, which can affect that as well. And then I just take some medicines that can also weaken your immune system. So I do have some stuff going against me that have been put in the category of compromised. So I have had to be a little bit more careful than most people I know, especially like my family. So for example, like my parents I'm allowed to like drive through somewhere and I can ride with them to pick something up, but I'm actually not allowed to get out of the car or anything. That's just a precaution, and it's recommended by doctors. So with that, it's been a little scarier. The biggest thing I've seen for me is I've been really cautious, but like, the other day I sneezed and I got super paranoid. Like I was like, what if, you know what I mean? So like when you are more susceptible to get it, there is a little bit of that fear, like, what if I get it? And then, you know, since the coronavirus targets the respiratory system, especially with the asthma, normally like I get a respiratory infection usually once or twice a year already, and those are already bad enough. To think about this, getting this type of respiratory infection is kind of scary because, you know, people with asthma are being put on ventilators. There are kids my age who had my similar things getting it. To kind of combat that, I mean, I've always been big on washing my hands and stuff just because I've always been the first one to get sick. But you definitely have to be very, very diligent. So it is a little scary.
What's your guys' thoughts on, like, you know, it took a pandemic for Americans to realize, oh, we should be washing our hands after we use the restroom, you know? We've seen everybody in our high schools and, like, how some of them are not sanitary. I can't believe that I've seen girls who walked out and they don't even wash their hands. And I'm like,
I know.
Like,
all
I'm
right.
like people always, no offense to my dudes, but people always like say like dudes don't wash their hands after the restroom. When I see a girl who doesn't do that, I'm like it's just,
Yeah,
they gotta do it. And I think it's like crazy because there are more common illnesses that you can get from not washing your hands. And so it's like people are like, oh, now we have to wash our hands. I'm like, sis, we should have been washing this whole
Clare,
time. Like,
you have anything to say about that?
So I just think it's ridiculous that people were just like, oh, I guess now I should be like, you know, using hand sanitizer and washing my hands and like not touching my face. I shouldn't say anything. I was just literally touching my face.
Did it again, Claire.
See, okay, that's my anxiety, Kris. You can't say anything. But like,
Kris,
it's just that it's so gross that people think that just because there's a pandemic going around, now we should be washing our hands regularly. Like, no, you should have been doing that before. Like, obviously, every time you go to the bathroom, like, before, like, when you go to, like, stores and, like, everything, like, I was always told growing up, like, after going to a grocery store, going to get clothes, to wash my hands once I got home because, like, I don't know how many people have touched those things, and, like, every time I bought new clothes to, like, wash them in the washing machine first before I wore them because you don't know what's being spread. And that's just, like, generally good, like, hygiene and, like, sanitary things that people should be incorporating into their own lives because if everyone's doing that, like, regularly, regardless of, like, a disease spreading, it's going to help prevent, like, future diseases from spreading.
yeah, and like I was just gonna really quickly say, I don't know who all here drives or owns a car, but like since this has happened, everyone's been freaking out like, okay, make sure that you put hand sanitizer on after you touch the gas pump. I'm like, you should always be doing that. Like
That's just gross.
Like when I pump my gas, I always put hand sanitizer on afterwards because that people touch that pump all the time. People get gasoline like on that. But that was what cracked me up the most is like at like my local gas station, there was like signs on all the pumps like, we recommend washing your hands or putting hand sanitizer on afterwards. And it was on the news. And I was appalled because I was like, you don't always do that? Like that is like the first thing I do. Like I like put hand sanitizer on. So I thought that was kind of weird. Like I thought everyone put hand sanitizer on after pumping gas. Especially like I live right off the interstate. And so like I think about how many truckers and stuff come through, like you don't know what they've been exposed to. So yeah, I thought that was obvious, but apparently not.
It's the same thing with like eating food too.
Honestly, like, I want to add something too, but the whole glove thing that's been going on, like everybody wearing gloves, but they touch everything and they don't take them off. It's like, bro, you are spreading it. It's like, what do you mean?
You're missing the point.
Yes, it's like, dude, take off those gloves.
Yeah.
People are just like, oh, I'm wearing gloves to be cautious. And then everybody else is just like,
you have the Rona on those gloves. Take them off.
Just
like, nasty.
Imagine you're always touching raw steak. Treat your hands like you're touching raw steak.
You got eggs on yourself. You got raw egg on your hands.
Yes.
raw eggs.
Wash your hands. It's not that hard, guys.
Yeah,
we were all in elementary school. We all watched the video. we're like, wash the hands, like, scrub your fingernails, like, do it. Like, stop being nasty.
And
Wash your hands.
the funny thing is, I read the news every day, like multiple articles, and this article was a science journal, and it said statistically that most people who don't wash their hands are adults 25 to 55.
Yo.
That's like everyone.
Yo.
That's like half the population.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, like these teenagers, kids need to wash their hands, but it's these
You
adults
need to
who
wash
are
them.
washing their hands. Like,
Oh my gosh.
like we are in school, we are told to wash our hands. Like we have sanitizer everywhere around the school. So like I get it, and then elderly people are a little more cautious. But it was like normal adults, and it said like that like most adults only wash their hands once a day. And I was like,
No.
Stay away from me.
No.
I live
Exactly.
in a house with one of those.
And it said,
Really?
teenagers wash their hands.
Daleyna, is it your dad?
Yeah.
Or is it your brother?
No, it's my dad. It's 'cause
Isn't your dad the one who cooks for you guys and everything?
Yeah, it's because
Yeah.
he
Puts them
he
hands
grew up-
all over that.
It's because he grew up in a different environment, and so he before this, my mom only finally convinced him to start washing his hands every time he goes to the bathroom and all the time when this pandemic started, because before that he did not, and it was disgusting, and we'd always yell at him and he'd be like, there's nothing wrong, I don't see any germs, because they are from,
I don't see any either.
I don't see him.
my dad's from a third world
I don't
country,
see
so
Doctors in the 1700s be
His
like, I don't
entire-
see germs.
So
Imagine
we had to
seeing a germ
educate
on your
my
hand.
we had to educate my entire family when they moved here that they have to wash their hands and stuff, because in Ecuador right now, it's actually like, my dad's constantly updating us. In Ecuador right now, it's really bad because they are a third world country.
I saw that.
The town where my dad's from doesn't have running water, and my dad updates us every day. Oh, your cousin's in the hospital. Oh, my friend's dad is currently on life support because he got the coronavirus, and so he's constantly telling us. One of my second cousins is pregnant right now, and she's freaking out. And then one of my great uncles just died because he had the coronavirus.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy. And in some aspects, they can't even do anything about it. They don't have access to any cleaning supplies like we do here. They can't raid the stores for like Lysol wipes and gloves and masks. So all they can do is live and do what they do every day. And like, that's why I don't know, people are just, they aren't very, like, I hate to say they aren't very smart, but it's like, I mean, something like that's all they've ever known. So they can't do anything better.
Oh, I like that she's okay though.
Yeah, me too, man. Hope your Tia is okay.
Yeah.
Chris, yeah. It's like one fist pump.
But like,
it cures the pandemic. One fist pump at a time cures the pandemic, fellas.
I think it does.
Secret.
All right, guys, we gotta do this like a couple million times, and then boom, we'll cure everyone.
All right, let's keep on.
Let's get going. Let's get going.
Let's do
So
it, man.
I just wanted to see your guys. I know this is like really heavy to like ask, but I wanted to see hear your guys' thoughts on if you guys have seen on the news. I'll just start out with like this first case with the bus driver who died because people did not take precautions while they were
Bro, I was so
riding
mad
on public transport.
when he said that. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
My dad was the one who showed me that story, but like, he's so on top of it. But what the heck? People, I'm honestly surprised that public transportation is still going at this point. Just because people
They have to. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to.
They have to.
It's an essential government
Because it
facility and everything that they need.
there's no other way to put it other than it's just being selfish. And like with that
Yes.
video with the bus driver, like I saw an interview with his wife after he passed away, and she was like, he loved his job, and that when this virus hit, he was going to keep doing his job, not only to provide for his family, but like he loved talking to people. And it's like, it was just so selfish because one person can do that. And or, you know, it took like forever. Beaches, people were still partying in 100 plus groups. My brother knew some people that all went out on boats and partied, and one girl had the virus, and they all have to be in quarantine now.
Yeah.
Like, it's very selfish. And as we learn more and more about this virus, it's more and more dangerous. It you know, it has more symptoms. But the scariest thing is, it used to be, oh, it takes up to 14 days. Now they're thinking it can take up to 28 for the virus to fully go. So, like, and that person doesn't have to get it. They can just come in contact with it and be a carrier and pass it on. So, you know, people who are being blatantly foolish, and I'm not talking about people who are going to the grocery store or going out through drive-thru to get something to eat. Like, if you're being safe, in minimal contact, I get that. But people who are going in massive groups, that it's so foolish. People who have come in contact with someone with the virus and are not quarantined, that's so selfish. And like, if you have a cough, even if it is not the virus, right now people are scared, and the polite thing to do would be to cover your cough or stay home. So I think some people, if it doesn't affect them, they don't realize what a ripple effect it can have and the consequences it can bear on someone else or someone you love and care about. Like, you know what I mean? So
like,
so selfish.
With you
Like,
saying,
for all you know, you're carrying it, and you just have no idea. Maybe your body's already fought it off. Like, you're just that lucky one, and you come in contact with like an older lady or whatever. Like, you're not even realizing, like, you very well could be spreading it, and you don't even know. Like, you just be cautious.
And so
That's
many
one of the
Clare?
things that I worry about a lot.
Claire?
so like you guys were saying with people being selfish, there are people out there who are being affected by this and are like really worried about everything spreading, and you might not even realize it because everybody's kind of thinking like, oh, it's just older people who are affected, and I don't really know anyone who's immunocompromised. But like, you don't know everyone that you're coming in contact with. Like, one of my really close friends, his little brother, who's like 8 years old, just had surgery for a brain tumor, and he's back in the hospital because there were complications with it. And like, he was at home for like 2 weeks. So there's no way that they could be sure that like one of his siblings or him himself could have like come in contact with someone, and that would have put him at risk. And my cousin, who lives in Germany, like where they have a lot of cases like this, he just had surgery because he just got diagnosed with cancer, and he's at like a huge risk for everything spreading now. And it's just, people are being so reckless now with everything going on. And it's like, you might not like the stay-at-home order, but it's important to just be able to like spend as much time away from others as you possibly can, because they don't know exactly how many people like one person can spread it to. They don't know for sure what the incubation period is for the virus. And like Lauren was saying, with you can carry it and not contract it. That's a huge thing, and it's so important to just like take like proper precautions, because people are saying that the government is like, they're going too like far with this, they're canceling too many things in advance and everything. And it's like, yeah, maybe they are, but it's way better to be safe than sorry. And it's way better to take too many precautions than too little, because in the countries that have taken too little precautions, they're the ones that have seen like the huge outbreaks of this, and they're the ones who have so many people dying from this.
Exactly.
Kris, I don't know if you can mute your mic for like a second so we don't have to hear the gaggle
the
of
birds.
They're nice texture, but if that's okay.
Texture?
Texture.
Yes, texture.
Nice bird texture.
Caleb froze.
Caleb? Caleb died.
Caleb just freeze.
Let's just wait for a
His
second.
internet doesn't know. He's like, while we wait for him to get back on, I was just also gonna really quickly say social media too. I've seen so many kids posting like we don't know corona, or quarantine can't get me down, and they're still hanging out in big groups of people. That's been really frustrated, and then people are commenting like, how
he's
fun.
gonna re-enter the chat.
Okay. And I'm like, don't support that. Like, do not support people on social media blatantly breaking the rules. And I understand, like, people, if they have a girlfriend or boyfriend, sometimes those two will get together. That I understand, because, you know, you're in a relationship, if you're being safe, if you're, you know, I understand that. But kids who are still hanging out, still partying, still going to other people's houses, still going out to the beach and everything, that's just, and people are, I saw a bunch of people that were like, well, this is my spring break, so it's our right. How are you going to feel if you give someone the coronavirus?
It's not your right to spread a disease.
Yeah, so the social media, I think, like, I've seen so many teenagers just being reckless and promoting not staying in, and I think that's really bad. And you know, that's something I've definitely not encouraged. That like, I've made sure I'm not liking or commenting on any posts. That, you know, because then it almost makes it seem like it's okay. It's really not. Like, there are other ways to stay happy and positive during this virus than breaking the rules.
Oh my god.
What are we gonna say, Claire?
Caleb, you're back.
Like,
Would you like to finish the rest of your story before we were left off on a digital cliffhanger?
Oh god, he froze again. No.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Caleb! We lost Caleb.
In the meantime, like you were saying about the teenagers being like reckless and everything, I think part of that comes from people are like, oh, I'm not likely to get it, so I don't really care. Like, whatever. And I think that just comes from people not really having a knowledge of how like disease is spread, because like I said before, even if you don't have it, you can still spread it, which is like a huge problem. And it's just, you can't be promoting like this reckless behavior to like your friends and your family. And a lot of social, like people who are really big on social media are also being like, oh, I don't care about corona, I'm not like even worried about it, I'm gonna go out and do whatever. It's like, you have such a wide and like huge audience who looks up to you, and if you're promoting this behavior, it's just gonna cause other people to do it and spread this like disease that we don't know enough about. It's like, we can't let this continue to happen.
There, I feel like in the country there's been a lack of enforcement. I was watching a video from the Philippines where and I'm not saying that we should do this here, but like they're taking it so strictly over there that they actually have police officers rolling on motorcycles, and if they see you out, they have bamboo sticks that they whack the back of your legs with. And like there are like these videos.
That's just like a normal day in my household. I take out the bamboo. I'm kidding. Well, like
no, but
like
they're
they're like driving through and just like whacking people, but everything's closed. They have very designated times when you can go to the store, you know, and so like I think, I'm not saying we should whack people with bamboo sticks, but we do need to have a level of enforcement that I feel like we're lacking. And I totally get, like, just going for a drive is totally okay. If you're going for a walk and you're not with people, that's like going for a run, you know, stuff like that. But people are still meeting up in groups. People are still finding little non-essential things that have managed to stay open by a loophole. And there's just so many people out still. Like, I feel like we need a level of enforcement, and maybe not as much in areas that aren't hit so hard. But like in New York, there are still a lot of people who are going out and they're having a really hard time with people staying in. So it's like, I feel like we haven't quite stepped up to the plate with that. Also, in medical supplies, I feel so bad for people in the medical field right now, because like that mask that they don't have can be the difference between their life and death, literally.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's very sad that we are not able to come up with enough masks for these people. And it's really scary, because if you look at it, they started running out when this thing first started, and there weren't really that many more people being admitted to the hospital at first. It would be as if in that region, oh, there was a really bad accident, we had an influx of patients, you know. So it's almost really scary to think how quickly they ran out. And so I really feel for medical officials who don't have the proper equipment to keep themselves safe. and they're still going out every day and risking their lives to save other people. But I think it's really unfortunate that we have not been able to produce enough masks to help them. So I feel like those are two things that we really, you know, and I'm not getting political and criticizing who's responsible for it. I'm just feel like those are things that need to be addressed that we just haven't yet.
Yeah.
I give free coffee to first responders and healthcare workers.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's
Like,
awesome.
That's like
So, like-
awesome, and like I appreciate your company for that because that's awesome. My mom
I
was a paramedic
basically-
growing up, so it means a lot.
I saw a first responder from that said he was from New York. I don't know if he actually was, but I'm just trusting what he said because he was in Scrubs. He's down in Florida talking about how he finally got a break and then just took the flight down to kind of help prepare everyone that's working in hospitals.
Yeah.
This man should not have been driving. I know that sounds ridiculous, but he was so utterly exhausted when he was at the drive-thru window. He just went, coffee. And I went, sure, what size? And he went, big. And then I was like, all right, do you want cream or sugar in that? And he drove forward. And I thought he was being mean, but the bags under his eyes had bags under their eyes.
Yeah.
I gave him a Trenta because I thought he needed it.
Yeah.
So we got two larges. We got the Venti and the Trenta. You can get a Trenta and a cold brew or a nice coffee. And
Oh,
when
dude.
he got to
Good.
when I got to the window, I was like, "Hey, do you want any any cream in that?" And he went, "Yes." I was like, "Both?" Yeah. I was like, "All right, cool." Dude was
I saw that
tired.
from people who are wearing, like, they have to keep masks on 24/7. I saw in New York, they actually are having to come up with anti-inflammatory shots, and because some nurses' skin is so irritated from it,
Yeah.
their eyes are
Is it
so
rubbed?
shut and they can't see. So they actually, a lot of them are, like, if you look in some pictures, you can see like the pinpricks where they're having to get shots to reduce the swelling so that they can see. And I was like talk about, okay, like I was saying earlier how some people are selfish. Talk about being selfless. Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
Like, they're putting their lives on the risk, going through so much pain. And then they're all like, I've seen so many people that are like, it is worth it. I'm going to keep doing this. I think that's really cool. And I think they should get even more shout out and support than they already have.
Yeah, like we should really be listening to our medical experts at this time. So it's
Yeah,
just interesting to see.
Can I just say, there's a lot of different opinions about this, but the fact that our president literally like publicly stated that he had not gotten his flu shot and he was not going to, it just blew my mind that someone who is this much of like a figure in the press and like in our society, who has like so much influence, is just saying that he's not going to do that, and that's going to influence so many people not to do it when they're literally medical professionals like imploring people to please go and get their flu shots because that might help prevent them from getting this virus and spreading it, because they're not exactly sure how it works, but they've shown that like getting your flu shot like regularly can decrease your risk of like contracting the disease and spreading it.
Don't listen to people in power, listen to experts, because experts know their field. People in positions of power are told to repeat what the experts have said. This is why you don't listen to Times Magazine. You listen to the scientists that research the paper.
Like check the CDC website, check the HRW website,
Yeah.
Johns Hopkins. There are so many like great resources that are being like provided from medical experts in the field who are actively studying this. They update this like on the hour. I really appreciate the like news sources who are like trying to take as much of an unbiased approach to like this whole thing as possible and just like put information out there. Like Vox in particular has made like amazing videos like talking about like where this came from, how it's spreading, like what you can do to prevent it, and they're like citing really good sources for all of their information. And like it's just those are the news sources that people need to be watching and paying attention to, because they're giving like an unbiased take on what's happening that isn't politicized.
Switching topic a little bit of a segue, and then we will start to wrap this up. There's been like a lot of even like racial stuff has been popping up and has not been covered by the news at all. Only like probably briefly, and only by like small news outlets. Like finally they're starting to talk about like, hey, the Black communities are really getting hit really hard by this virus, and kind of realize like, oh, the health system kind of a bit broken when it comes towards minorities, and people are just starting to realize that. And then also racial issues have been popping up, or like I think it's like social medias have been more adept to like picking up like, oh, when this all started, and like how Chinese communities around America were really getting like pushback or like a lot of hate. There's been like high schools where these teenagers were on TikTok, and they were like throwing off hats worn by Vietnamese girls at school during culture days, and they were yelling out like, oh, you better not give me coronavirus, or like, ew, stay away from me. Or they were tearing off people wearing masks. And
can I talk about that for a second? Sorry. So going back to things that have been said by our president, he called this a China virus at one point, and he's called it that several times since then. And it's like, I understand the argument that he's trying to remind people that this came from China, and this came from some of the like really bad policies within China that like caused this, especially when it comes to their farming community. But calling it that creates a race issue. And like personally, like I was worried for my friends who are Asian in general, because like as far as I'm aware, none of them personally have like experienced anything like that, like any like racial thing, but I'm still worried.
I was just I won't say like any names, but at our school I was in a class, and this was when like there was like, we found out there was like 2 cases in Florida before new school was canceled, and there was someone in my class who was Asian, and they sneezed, and 2 boys thought it was funny to like jump up and be like, I'm not getting corona, and they both ran out of the room. And that like happened at our school, and I was really angered by that, because like obviously she wasn't even sick, like the classroom is freezing cold, like non-sick people do sneeze every now and then, and it was just really unfair to her because she happened to be Asian. They did that, and I was like, that's so unfair. So, and that was at our school. And like the teacher got on to them, but they didn't get like referrals or anything. Because they're like, oh, we're just scared.
Should have.
Okay, sorry. It's just like a brief thing, and then we can like kind of like go and branch off of this. But the same thing kind of happened to me in like school, because I am Asian, if that's not already obvious. But when this started to spread around like Florida, and I think for like a week I was like kind of like sick, and of course I didn't want to like start anything, so like I wore a mask because just wanted to be conscious, and also my mom was like, you should wear a mask, don't spread that stuff, and I was like, okay. And like I've worn masks to school before, but just like having that extra thing of like people were kind of staring at me a bit more. I know that some of them were like joking, some of them like I knew were peers and I knew very well, so like I know that they didn't mean any harm, but like I had to be more aware of like, oh, I can't really cough here, so I kind of had to suppress my coughs and like go to the bathroom or like go outside to finally like cough it all out, and then like take a deep breath and like then put back on my mask and then like re-enter into the classroom.
Yeah, like just straight up, allergy season came at the worst time this year. I'm just gonna say that, because I had like the worst allergies I've ever had right when all of this was starting to hit the US, and I was like,
this whole like situation has given people the excuse to be openly racist towards Asian people. And it's incredibly frustrating to watch and deal with from like the standpoint of not someone that's being abused, but the person that's watching everyone get abused. And it's frustrating knowing that I can't do anything about it aside from openly and publicly call them out.
Yeah,
because like I did voice to like my Asian homies. I was like, if anybody tries to like
I remember.
call you out saying that you have corona, just know that like I will sit them down and have a very lovely talk with them. That's also another reason why I became more motivated to like be aware of what was going on and do a lot of research on this, because I wanted to make sure if someone were to call me out or like say like, oh, you have coronavirus or whatever, then I can be able to educate them and be like, hey, like this isn't just impacting this community, it's impacting, you know, now the entire world, but you know, back then, like what are the symptoms, and this isn't something to make a joke of because this is like pretty serious. So we're just going to wrap this up. If you guys have any final wishes or thoughts you would like to say to the students of Cypress Creek High School and middle school, if they also watch this, hi kids. You're
on mute, Kris.
Kris, you're on mute.
All right. Well, appreciate that. But honestly, just wash your hands, keep your head up. Like, this is not going to be forever. Just, you know, listen to what everybody's saying, educate yourself, and don't be stupid. Like, just do what you got to do, and you'll see your friends eventually. Just don't go overboard.
I definitely want everyone to remember, stick together right now. You know, a lot of people, this has been a negative effect. I have found very few people who have not felt a little more depressed, a little more anxious right now. Some people a lot more. So stick together. Still remember to love each other. Reach out to people. Reach out to your friends. I have been writing letters to people and calling people and doing Zooms, and it is really helpful because nothing about your relationship with people has to change, and everyone's still here for each other. Look to see how you can help someone if you know someone is in need. If you're not in a position to give financially, like just reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking of you. I love you. I'm here to support you. Please be cautious. Think about people who are compromised. Don't be reckless, and keep your hopes up because we will all get through this. You know, I'm going to be a nerd and quote Harry Potter, but like you really can find happiness in the darker times. So, you know, just remember that, be positive and be conscientious, and we'll all get through it. And for my seniors, I hate that this is happening for you guys. So just try and enjoy the best of it. And next year, when I'm a senior, I will honorarily honor you all.
As a final like statement, right now we're fighting a war against something. Thankfully, we're not killing each other, but we're fighting against something that's killing so many people, and it's good because it's united like a lot of people from different backgrounds, but it's important to remember to still have fun and to care about each other and do things not necessarily because they're productive or because you have to, but because you enjoy them and for no other reason. And I think we need a little bit of fun right now.
Just make sure that you're checking really good sources for all new information. Like I said before, the CDC, WHO, and Johns Hopkins, they all have a lot of really great resources, and they update frequently about everything that's going on. So just be aware of what's going on and make sure that you're staying at home and following the precautions that are being issued by the government, because while we may not like them, they are going to help us all stay safe. And the easiest way for you to stay safe is to follow the precautions that are being given to you. And while it may suck that we're not able to like go out and like hang out with other people that we really enjoy being around, we can't see like all of our family members now. We can't go out with our friends, but there are still lots of ways for all of us to be able to connect with the people we care about. Like just being able to give like a phone call or like FaceTime or text or like send something to someone you really care about would honestly make their day. Like just make sure that you're reaching out and staying connected with everyone you care about.
So thank you so much, guys, for being on this board, and thank you so much for listening or watching this. All the links for information about this virus will be down below in the description, so you'll be able to educate yourself on this topic. Hopefully, I can also put in some videos which are well informed if you're not exactly the reading type. And I will see all you guys in the next podcast. See you. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Abbie, for
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Shout out Miss Smith. Shout out the janitors. Shout out Miss Alfonso. Shout out Miss Oler. Big one, Miss Oler. I was gonna get you coffee, but we all put on quarantine, so
No.
sorry.
Shout out to Miss Adley and Mr. Chestnut. You guys were like the only good parts of my day at school this year, like the only really good, enjoyable parts that always brightened my day. And I really hope that you're both staying safe and enjoying your time at home with your cats, and for Miss Adley with her son.
I want to shout out all of my teachers. So Miss Narachi, Miss Adley, Miss Alfonso, Miss Hutner, Passardi. Am I missing someone?
Shout out Miss Dallaire.
There you go. But thank you all, and I really
There's a real one.
the teachers that I don't even have. Any teacher who is reaching out to their kids right now and still telling them that they care and offering help and offering to Zoom just to check in. Thank you for taking that extra time to still keep those connections.
Also, just wanted to shout out to some of the guidance counselors and Miss Larimore who have been like reaching out, especially to like the seniors and some of their students who like might be struggling with some of this distance learning. Like they've gone out of their way to like contact their students and make sure everything's going right and help them plan for like next year and help them plan for college. Like some of the guidance counselors, they're getting really creative with community service hours, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, really huge shout out to like, staff, teachers. Y'all are doing an amazing job talking to your students, doing Zooms. We all know that this is really difficult on you guys too, to have to contain and like monitor an entire class of students while online, because you know a couple of us are a little bit fickle and we do change the backgrounds whenever we're online or we're chatting or doing stupid stuff. So thank you so much for just dealing with us online, and we honestly really do appreciate you guys going above and beyond doing your job.